Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it is yet another video in my 2023 NFL offseason prediction series, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your comments in the comment section below about the Bengals. I have a comment right off the bat. The Bengals got screwed in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, I said it. Yes, I did. I said it. At the time of this recording, we don't have a Super Bowl champion yet, but neither team, in my eyes, is deserving of that title. It should have been the Bengals and the 49ers. I said it. I said it. I said it. Now, why do I think that? Well, mostly because of the phantom third down play where it was an incomplete pass. Then there was the phantom penalty pass interference on the subsequent play that should never happen to begin with. Then there was the phantom misholding calls on Trey Hendrickson. Then there was the late hit by Joseph Osai. How convenient. But they got what they wanted. They got the Andy Reid Super Bowl game against the Eagles. They got the Brother Kelsey Bowl, whatever the hell they want to talk about. Whatever. You guys got what you wanted. And the Bengals got screwed just like they did in the Super Bowl the year before with that pass interference. Whatever. Again, whatever. Bengals got screwed. But they have an indoor facility now. They finally have an indoor practice facility. But they're such a good team. They're deserving of all great things. And I do think that they're going to continue to get better. I think that they really showed this year that last year was no fluke. And I think they're a real threat for the next couple of years, especially with so much instability going on in Baltimore. Especially because you don't know the next time that Deshaun Watson is going to go and want to get a massage behind everyone's back. And you really just don't know what they're going to do in Pittsburgh with that offense in particular. So the Bengals are, for the first time in a long time, really probably the most stable team in the AFC North. One of the most stable franchises in the entire NFL, and that's weird to say. And it starts with the fact they have a great quarterback. It starts with the fact they built that team really well in terms of giving him all the resources weapon-wise. We'll talk about the offensive line. And that the defense does a great job of really overachieving. They have a great defensive play caller. And they really do a great job making adjustments to the teams that they're playing against. But the overall CEO, I guess, of the team, Zach Taylor, we will start with that, the head coach. So it's Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, who many people said was overrated last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. And I think that he's done a great job of proving these doubters otherwise. We're starting to look at some of the rankings here. You got the key offensive rankings. Top 10 in points. The only issue they have, there's the turnovers, of course, but that's, I think that's subsequent also with the sacks, where they need to get that under control. And then there's just the rush yards in general. The offense is really carried by that passing game. Joe Mixon is a great back, but he's not getting a lot of help. And they need to keep throwing solutions and players at the wall when it comes to that offensive line and hoping things start to stick a little bit. Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, you've got some guys, I guess. Jonah Williams, what are you going to do with him? La'el Collins, what are you going to do with him? I'll tell you what they're going to do with him. Is there another guard position out there? I think there's just so much potential for them to keep improving on that offensive line, and they're going to have to really commit to that going forward. Because I think that'll truly be the difference in them being a top contending team every year and being a team that can win a Super Bowl or two in the next couple of years, especially before they have to start paying out the big bucks. Because you're looking at Joe Burrow, that's going to be $50 million. You're looking at Jamar Chase, that's probably going to be closer to another 30. So you're going to have $80 million in cap space dedicated to two players on this roster. So, you got to figure out a way to win quick. And you have to draft well in the upcoming years. And I think getting offensive linemen in particular on those rookie contracts is going to be really important for them and maintaining long-term success. And because you got to improve the run game too. You got to keep Joe Burrow standing. Like I said, there's going to be about $80 million dedicated to two players on this offense in the next couple of years. So you got to make sure that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can still be effective. And the best way to keep a passing game effective is to have an effective and dangerous running attack. And that starts really with the offensive line. It'll clean up a lot of the issues that they have, sacks and turnovers as well. And then when we look at the defense, they got to improve the sacks as well. Joseph Osai had a decent playoff performance. He's finally looking like he's healthy. He could be a real effective pass rusher with Trey Hendrickson. Sam Hubbard could be somebody they can mix in there as well. Good little three-man group there. Getting a better interior pass rush. BJ Hill is a good interior guy, but they haven't really had a strong interior player since Geno Atkins was there. And that's also going to help them with keeping the point totals down, because the third down percentage also comes in correlation with the sack totals almost always. So, their defense can't get off the field, which is leaving them vulnerable to giving up points, which is why they're 22nd in points allowed, despite only giving up the third most passing touchdowns and the second total touchdowns. So they're giving up a lot of field goals, and that is something that will chip away at you. They were able to win a lot of games because they were only really giving up the field goals, especially towards the end of the year. But then when you get into teams like Kansas City and Buffalo, you're going to need to be able to get off the field on third down, because the more chances you give those types of teams, the more chance you're going to have that they're going to put a touchdown on the board. And that only gets worse with other teams as well, like up-and-coming teams like the Chargers. You never know who the Raiders quarterback is going to be. Sean Payton's now with Denver. Is Baltimore going to be able to recover? What's Deshaun Watson going to look like? Who's going to be the Jets quarterback? There's so many teams in the AFC that are starting to be on the come-up. You have to improve that third down percentage and those sack numbers real fast in order to counteract what these other teams have been doing, especially with their quarterbacks and their offenses. With that said, the Bengals still have some money to spend. And they have a big free agent in Jesse Bates, by my estimation, the best safety in the league. And you can afford to pay him like it, so giving him the $19 million to make him the highest paid safety in the NFL, do it. Then they got Drew Sample and Jermaine Pratt, who I would be bringing back for a combined cap hit of about $10 million. Probably can get them both for a little bit less. But I think this is a situation, because they have so much coming out in the next couple of years, that maybe you front load some of these deals on guys like Pratt and Sample, maybe guys that you want to keep around. I have them restructuring Trey Hendrickson to get about $6 million there. Then I see La'el Collins, and I'm cutting him for $7.7 million. I just got to. I know that he didn't play that bad towards the end of the year, but the injuries and he's just not reliable. Unfortunately, it was a great signing that I really liked at the beginning of the year, but then it was the same sort of issues that you were hoping wouldn't happen are what ended up happening. So, if you're dedicating $7.7 million to a guy who's just going to sit there on the bench injured and in the trainer's room all the time, you could probably cut bait with him, maybe work out some depth at other positions, and then worry about drafting somebody who you can be more reliant on. So even with that big signing, maybe making some cuts, $25.5 million to spend. And they do have needs, significant ones. And we'll start with the tight end and the offensive line. I think that is the place that they should target in the first round, perhaps with the first two picks that they have. Look at getting one of the offensive tackles. You got Anton Harrison there. You got DeJuan Jones available there. You got Darnell Wright, who I think is going to be somebody who could really sneak up on some teams. Sneak up some boards, And there's always the chance that somebody drops, like Michael Mayer or something, that you can grab him and then maybe focus on the day two, second round, getting an offensive tackle to bring in. But you need to figure out those tackle positions. Jackson Carman played in the playoffs at left tackle, had some moments, but also had horrific play as well, sort of mixed in there. No consistency there. You got to get something consistent going. And then I would say linebacker and the cornerback position are places where you can afford to add some guys as well. Replenishing the cornerback room, you got Mike Hilton still, and you got Chidobe Awuzie, who you front-loaded their deals, so now their cap hits are a lot less, so keeping them around is actually very advantageous for you. But you also want to make sure that you're picking up maybe some younger guys, and I think that that's something they can do in the draft more so than in free agency. But if we're looking into free agency, Mike McGlinchey, the 49ers right tackle, is possibly going to end up on the free agency market, and he's somebody that I wouldn't mind throwing $12.5 million at to be the right tackle, the future, replace Lael Collins. And you're still able to draft another tackle coming up. It doesn't really affect your draft strategy all that much because you need I would say all 5 offensive line positions. You can afford to draft all 5 offensive line positions coming up. So why not try to make a splash with a veteran? Mike McGlinchey at the very least is going to assist in your running game, coming from that Shanahan system there in the 49ers where their run game is absolutely stellar. So this could really help out with that at the very least. And then, you can still dedicate your remaining cap space to getting some depth players. Perhaps maybe you can find a bargain deal in that second or third wave. And you got $13 million to spend on that second and third wave and with your draft picks. So they're in a good spot. They're able to make a big splash. Keep your best defensive player, improve the offensive line, and still have money to sort of have a little bit of flexibility moving forward with free agency and with the draft. You can maybe be a little bit more aggressive in a second and third wave of free agency now. With that amount, you can always restructure another deal. Maybe you do well in the draft and you can cut Awuzie or Mike Hilton, get an extra six or so $1 million to spend somewhere else. I mean, the possibilities are really endless for them at the moment. But here's the draft strategy, and I sort of touched upon this throughout the entire video. Protecting Joe Burrow. You can get, even if somebody like Darnell Washington is somebody that jumps off the board for you, the tight end, who's basically an extra offensive lineman as well, just due to his size. It's a matchup nightmare, and it could really help out Joe Burrow in this offense. It could help out the running game. So maybe that's something that you consider with that late first round pick that you have. And then there's obviously replenishing the cornerback room. So then that way you can maybe walk away from a Chidobe Awuzie or a Mike Hilton. You might be able to feel comfortable walking away from both if you play your cards right, because Cameron Taylor-Britt really showed up, did quite well. So he's going to be a guy that's going to start for you on the outside this upcoming season. Daxton Hill is sort of a safety cornerback hybrid type player. Maybe he gets more play as a slot guy and you can draft a safety. So maybe you focus more on the defensive back aspect. Or getting a versatile defensive back like an Antonio Johnson would really help out as well. So I think that you've really opened yourself up to, you replenish these key positions on your team that are going to be glaring needs either this year or the year coming up. So you want to have smooth transitions. I think that's a thing with the really good teams is you want to put yourself in a position where you have smooth transitions away from some of the bigger veteran contracts and replenish that with some of the smaller rookie contracts and sort of keep that that flow going where you got the big time players like a Burrow, like a Jamar Chase, maybe even T. Higgins, who on that offense side of the ball you can retain and give big money to, and then you replenish these other spots, some of these like an interior offensive line, interior defensive line, linebacker, cornerback 3, tight end, with some of these younger rookie contracts that are still very effective players, but you're not blowing your entire cap space on some of these guys that are playing positions that you can probably replenish and replace their productivity with younger players over a 3-4 year period at a time. And there it is, my offseason predictions for the Cincinnati Bengals for this upcoming offseason. Make sure to thumbs up this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, and comment if you haven't already. I mean, do all 3. You got all the way to the end of this video somehow, and I appreciate that. And I want you to watch all the other videos that I put out there for all the other teams in the NFL, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of recording. It's a lot of editing, and it's a lot of posting. And I appreciate you guys being here for that. And I will see you guys, hopefully, the next video.